Good job.
Thank you. Fire at the
Yeah.
in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it has.
We're in
It
here.
has. Yes, we have with us Justin. Justin has been inspirational. He has been inspirational in my life. He was sent to me by my God. There's no question. I have a hard time, asking for help, and really, and it's always been an issue. So he makes it just
I
so
think we
much
can all
easier.
relate to that, right?
Makes it so much easier. But I love what he has to say, and that's the reason he's here today, is to share with us the things that you share with me that make me want to have you in front of us.
I appreciate that, Roland. And I got to tell you, so the first time I met Roland was at a men's meeting.
I'm so excited to hear about this.
And he shared honestly,
Yeah.
He said he was full of crap. And I said,
Nice.
I
Not
can
exactly what I said.
well, he maybe used a couple of choice words on that, but that's basically what he said. And I said, I can relate to that and I can help that. I
Sure,
can work
sure.
with that. So we've been together ever since. So I appreciate having him in my life, and because I love this program. I love what this 12-step program of Alcoholics Anonymous and God has done for me. So I'm going to share a little bit about my story and tell you how I got here.
Tell us all about it. We're here for it.
All right, good deal. So it all started in my mother's womb.
Yes. Okay.
I know we don't have that much time. Anyway, so I was born in New York. I was born to a heroin-addicted father. He was out of the picture by the time I was 6 months old. So it was just my mom after that, right? My mom raised my brother and I on Long Island, New York. I had a pretty decent childhood from what I understand as a decent childhood. We had a lot of love. My mother was a great woman, but she was a working woman, raising 2 children, battling her own issues on top of that,
Sure.
and it was, we didn't have much growing up, but we had love, we had discipline, we had a stable life, But I always, you hear this a lot in the rooms. I felt different, right?
Didn't feel a part of.
Exactly. Maybe it was because I didn't have a father. Maybe it was because who knows, right? I always felt like I didn't fit in. However, I learned very early on that I could make myself fit in, right? I was really good in school, so I can fit in with the smart kids. I was good in sports. I could fit in with the jocks. I was a bit of a screw up, so I could fit in with those guys as well, right? And I wore a mask wherever I went, because I always had that innate desire to feel like I belonged somewhere, but because I never did. I didn't feel like I belonged in my family, in my school, in my group of friends, and most definitely not in my own skin. Right. And it was tough, and I didn't realize it as a child or even as a teenager going through that. I didn't realize it actually until later on when I got into recovery and to look back and see how, how I processed things. But that was it. I was always looking for a place that I belonged. Right. And I could never find that place.
I remember somebody telling me, just be yourself, Roland. Be yourself. I'm like, yeah,
I don't know who that is.
Well, we get to discover that in Alcoholics Anonymous. That's the great thing about this program, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward a little bit. At about the age of 10, my mom got sick, right? And my grandfather was sick as well at the time. Never knew my father's side of the family. So when my grandfather got sick, he had emphysema. They were moving down here to Florida because he was trying to get out of the cold weather in New York, A few months later, my mom got really sick, right? And she couldn't work anymore. So we had to move down here because she couldn't work. She couldn't take care of us. So we moved down here.
How old were you?
I was 10 at the time.
Okay. A lot of pressure to have to move at a young age.
Yeah. To uproot your whole life and move out, and then dealing with this sickness as well. And we were already dealing with my grandfather's sickness. And,
What was the reason that you moved to this area?
My grandparents, they had been down to Fort Lauderdale area, and they found this place out in West Pembroke Pines called Century Village, this little retirement community. And they said,
that's actually where my grandmother lived.
They actually,
I
that's
swear
great.
it. Yeah,
it's
what
a great little
small
community.
world.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, they bought there when they were just developing it in the mid-'80s.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In fact, their condo hadn't even been built yet before we moved down here.
And now it's crazy, not to veer off track, but the community is massive.
It's like its own city.
It is its own city.
Yeah, they have restaurants in there. They have churches and temples and shopping. And
what is it?
They have their own fire department in there.
You drive in and it's all enclosed?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
There's one gate in and out. I mean, you have like the resident entrance that you can have like another gate, but there's only one gate in and out. And it's beautiful. My grandmother, she's older. She's 90 years old. And I tell you, she has all these things to do. She's got more of a social calendar rolling inside this community than I do in my whole. So that's so amazing. amazing.
Right?
Okay.
They have a trolley system in there. They'll take you shopping to the different areas there, the supermarkets and the Walmarts and the
Yeah.
What
So
year
cool.
was this? That
1987.
Okay.
That's the year I was born.
1987. So anyway, so we moved down here. Luckily, my grandparents, were coming from New York. They sold their house up there, had a little bit of money, but bought a condo
Good
down
for
here and
them.
got us a little townhouse down here that we lived in with my mom.
Sure.
She progressively got sicker and died about 3 years later when I was 13. Following that, a few months after that, my grandfather passed away. So here's the thing, the family I grew up in, although my mother showed us a lot of love and discipline, we didn't really talk about things beyond in my immediate family, my brother, my mother, and myself, But after that, after she was gone, nobody talked about anything. Nobody talked about death or sickness or anything. I didn't know how to process things. My grandfather died shortly after that, and
He was like your father figure.
kind of
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah, a little
Well,
bit. He was a little too harsh for my liking. He comes from a different school, different era, different school. But he was there for us, and then that was gone as well.
Yeah.
My grandmother, she couldn't take care of two teenage boys. She hardly took care of her children. They had nannies and things like that when they were growing up. So, she lived in Century Village. Me and my brother lived in the town, in the little villa that we had grown up in, and we were basically on our own. From the time I was 13 on. Grams came and checked on us every now and again, made sure the bills were paid.
Grams, I love that.
I love Grams. She's a big part of my story, moving on and later as well. But
Your brother was younger, older?
my brother's a year and a half older than I am.
So just the two of you in your own crib.
Yep, two of us in our own crib. But not knowing how to deal with the loss of my mother, right? Not knowing how to deal with that anger. I was very angry. I was very
Why are
angry.
you so angry?
I lost my only caregiver. The mother.
Well, some people mourn differently, so it's interesting that
anger
that's the
came out
emotion
for
that
me.
you took.
Was he the same way? Was your brother also angry?
My brother shut down. My brother shut down.
Okay.
So I got angry. He shut down. But I learned after I picked up my first drink, I didn't have to feel angry anymore. I didn't have to feel sad. I didn't have to feel anything. So the first time I drank alcoholically. Right, I didn't drink because I wanted to get a little tipsy. Yeah, I drank to get completely obliterated, and every time after that, until I got sober, I drank to be out of my mind. I didn't drink to be social. I drank so I didn't have to feel anything. I didn't have to think anything. I was insanely drunk anytime I drank or used any substance. And I found that worked for a time. It worked for a good long time actually. I tried every imaginable remedy to drink. And to function in life with my alcohol, not to quit drinking or try to be able to function in life with the way I was going, and none of it worked. I took on hostages. I got married when I was very young. I think I was 19 when I got married the first time. I felt that
is young.
If I had somebody, if I was married, that means I wasn't worthless. I belonged to something, some kind of family
that outside
union.
image.
Yeah, and also that I felt like I belonged to something. I had something. I wasn't. I was worth something. I had a place that I belonged.
You were yearning for this.
Yeah,
fitting in, having someone your
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
I can identify with that.
Throughout that time, through the drinking, through the drugs, through everything I did, I got in trouble with the law a few times. More than a few times, and
I feel like that's in all of our stories.
Yeah.
A little bit, not a lot. I robbed a bank. That was just, that
no
was the
big
only,
deal,
that was the
Roland.
only thing I did wrong.
It's a little robbery.
That was my
It's a little
first
bank robbery, little federal crime, no big deal.
It's the first offense. Come on.
Anyway, things got progressively worse with that and my addiction as well and my alcoholism. And until I met my first wife, I was able to keep things under wraps a little bit for a little time, not a whole long time, but a little, maybe a couple, 2-3 years, until it didn't work anymore, until that having somebody wasn't the fix that I was looking for, I tried moving back and forth. I moved to my brother had moved out to Arizona when I was shortly after I got married. Actually, he moved out to Arizona. He was working for a restaurant. They opened a new one out there. He moved. He stayed. He loves it out there. He's still out there to this day.
Wow, interesting.
So I decided, after my divorce and things were getting crazy. Now I'm 23. I've been arrested a couple times in my adult life now, and I'm divorced now, and let's try the geographical change, right?
Yeah.
'Cause if I move, if I leave all the problems behind me, everything's going to be all right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the old saying, everywhere I go, I take myself with me, and
That's
I took myself and all my crap with me. And I got into the same scrapes out there, and sometimes even worse. Actually, things got pretty harrowing out there. And I tried that a couple times. Things got crazy out there. I moved back here. Everything was okay for a few weeks until.
How old are you at this point now?
We're talking 23 to 24, 25.
Okay.
Actually, I did this for 5 years. I moved back and forth probably 2 or 3 times.
It wasn't exhausting.
Yeah. Well,
and you know what happened too is that we were able to start fresh.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's
we
it.
could
True.
leave all the carnage behind us and move, get a new job, new girlfriend, a new car, all that, and start fresh. But the thing is, the same thing kept happening every time.
Absolutely, no doubt.
Crazy, isn't it?
No doubt, absolutely. So we did this again. We did this for about 5 years, and I'm going to bring God into the story here because
man.
Let's do
he's
that.
a big God guy.
Yeah,
he's
let's
been
do
here
that.
anyway. He's just
He's been waiting.
waiting for his
Yeah.
introduction.
He's
So
just
I
been
was
waiting.
I was raised Jewish, Jewish and Christian. My mother wasn't Christian, but we kind of all of her friends were. My father was, even though he wasn't in the picture. But we kind of celebrated all the holidays, But my mother and my grandparents were Jewish, so I was raised. She wanted me to have bar mitzvah by the time she passed away, and she actually passed away about 2 months after my bar mitzvah. So I was raised Jewish, so I had an idea of God, right? But what I call a childlike faith in God. I believed in God because you told me there was a God, right?
Sure.
You told me this growing up, so yes, there's a God. But do I have a relationship with one? Do I know one? Absolutely not, because I wasn't taught how to have a relationship with God. So when all this stuff started happening, there was no connection there because I had what I call a childhood faith in God, right? Not a real relationship. When my mother passed away, I kind of severed that little bit of a relationship, that little bit of knowledge that I had in a God. And over the course of my life, up to this point where I'm traveling back and forth from Phoenix, I vehemently denied the existence of God. I would probably call myself an atheist, but I don't really truly believe there are very few real atheists.
I understand.
And it was pointed out to me later, the anger I had towards God. If you're that angry at something, you probably believe in it. You just, you just have your baggage you're taking into that
How about
relationship.
that? See, a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, so
say that again. Like
if you're truly, listen, to have that much anger towards somebody or something, you have to believe in that thing, right? Otherwise, you wouldn't be angry. If you didn't believe in the existence at all, why would I be angry at him, right? But I would fight you tooth and nail with science, with some stuff, something I heard over the internet or in passing talk, and I would implement it like I knew this this fact and fiction, which I made up in
How
my
smart
mind.
we are.
Exactly, and but I would argue with you in the existence of God. Vehemently denied that there was any. Never really, I think, truly believing it, but saying it because I was so hurt. Because he didn't give me all the things I thought that I deserved.
Sort of our bus pass for chaos.
Yeah, well, that's it. If I can deny the existence of God, I can live any way I want.
Exactly.
Right? Because there's no accountability.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I relate with that a lot in my story.
oh yeah, I had to just, I don't know, like pretend that he wasn't there or something. I don't know, but I knew that he wouldn't like the way I'm acting, so I can't, be praying.
Right.
I can't, so yeah, I definitely identify.
Yeah, we couldn't be friends.
No, because I knew he was watching.
Yeah.
If I denied him, I didn't have to worry about thinking about it. It's one less thing I had to think about because, listen, people weren't going to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. I wasn't going to have a God stop me from doing what I wanted to do. Right. And I bring that up because while I'm in Phoenix, I lived with this buddy, and every time we came down a little mountain, hill, whatever it was, they call them. I think they call them hills. They're not really tall enough to be mountains, but we come down and there was a church that stood right in our way every time we stopped, and you had to go left or right, and it ran into a church. And I saw that church for like the last year I was out there, probably 6 months a year. And every time I saw it, I know now it was God. It was pulling me, go in there and see what that's about. Just check it out, right? And it kept telling me every day, several times a day, every time I saw that church, you should go check that out. And I never did, but I had that yearning deep inside, that innate sense of God in me that was pulling me towards him. I just wasn't listening because I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, because the using of substances masked anything that I was feeling. I didn't have to feel. I didn't have to deal with consequences. Sure, I had consequences, but I didn't have to deal with them as long as I could keep getting drunk and high. The only time I had to deal with them is when I woke up sober in a jail cell, and now I don't have any substances for the next 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is, in order to mask that. And then I get out and same thing over again, right? But anyway, fast forward, I'm back here now. Nothing's changed, same story, different place, And I landed what I call a jackpot, right? I got arrested with some pretty serious charges, and I was looking at decades in prison. At that time, I still had this yearning, this sense, that there must be something. I didn't know what it was, because here's the thing, right? I was never truly introduced to recovery before. I think I might have been slapped into an AA meeting from the courts, or maybe an IOP. I think there was 1 or 2 IOPs that I showed up to once or twice until I failed the drug test and then got kicked out of, but never really had any introduction to recovery in a real sense, So you don't know what you don't know. I really didn't know that this was a real way of life, that people could live this way.
It was designed for living.
You only know what you know, and the way I lived, I thought that was the only life, until I got introduced to God in a Broward County jail cell. And this pastor in there helped change my life at the time, right? And I had what's known as a white light experience, and I was truly in the presence of God, and I found myself on the floor crying my eyes out, engulfed in this beautiful light, which replaced this dark cloud of depression that I had hanging over me the whole time.
In front of everyone.
Anybody who's dealt with real depression in their life, like serious, clinical depression, understands this physical feeling of a dark presence and a dark cloud that follows you everywhere you go, and that was evaporated. It was gone, and it hasn't returned since. Well, minus one time, which I'll get into. Since that day until this day, I have never once questioned the existence of God. Wow. He has been an institutional fact in my life since that day. However, after a year and a half in county jail and in the substance abuse program, and then being sentenced instead of 20 or 30 years that they were supposed to sentence me to a year in a treatment facility and 5 years of probation. So I got off pretty light, right? Well, a year and a half in county jail in a substance abuse program, a year in an inpatient treatment program down in Miami. I had a lot of what you would call institutional sobriety, right? I had a lot of the message, a lot of what you guys had told me, a lot of AA meetings that you brought into me, and a couple that I went out to, right? And I thought that I was different. I thought that I could figure this out. I thought that, yes, drugs I can never do again. I get that. I get that part, right? But alcohol, really? Am I really an alcoholic? When did I ever really get in trouble just drinking alcohol, right? And I thought I had this reservation. Yeah, I had this reservation that one day deep in the future, maybe 10, 20, 30 years when I'm retired, maybe on a Sunday, grilling up some, hot dogs or steaks and watching the football game, I might be able to have a beer or two.
We should have known then that's how we know you're an alcoholic. Thinking to the future of when you can drink again.
Absolutely.
That we should know. Normal people don't think that way, Justin. Normal people don't think about next week, next weekend, when they're going to get married, the next event that they're going to be able to consume alcohol. Yeah, and here you are envisioning that drugs is okay, but the reservation a little bit for the alcohol is okay in your life at the time.
My magic rationalizing mind will tell me anything it wants to
Yes,
hear.
it will. Alcohol is so powerful,
I have a mind that lies and a disease that wants to kill me, and it'll come at me so many different ways if I'm not careful, right? Wow. And I wasn't prepared. I had God in my life, but I still didn't know how to have a relationship with him because I didn't know how to have a relationship with anybody. I was never taught, right? Sure. I was never taught how to have a healthy relationship. And although I believed in God and I believed in what I read in the Bible, I did not work this program. I did not get involved in this program when I got out, or even when I was able to go to outside meetings, getting a sponsor and working these 12 steps, which are designed to remove the blockage between you and God and teach you how to have a relationship with him, right? I didn't learn that. So even though I had a God in my life and I knew him, I didn't have a relationship with him. So I had nobody to lean on. I had no step-by-step instructions on how to live life because I never got involved. Sure, and when I got out of that inpatient treatment facility, I got drunk pretty quick within a few weeks. I don't even think it was a few weeks. I think it was like 2 weeks. Maybe 3 at the most.
I think it was you that told me the same mind that created the problem cannot be the same mind that fixes it.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So I think of it like a computer program. If you have a computer program that has a virus in it, that computer program cannot fix itself, right? It needs a programmer to come in and fix the program. That's what God does for me. That's what God does for us, right?
Wow, what an interesting analogy. I really like that.
If I'm not allowing him to do that and learning how to allow him to do that, and that's the purpose of these 12 steps, allowing him to learning how to have a relationship with him and allow him in my life, I didn't know any of that because I didn't give myself the time to do it. I had all the information, but none of the practical application of it, right? So I drank pretty quick and, I did everything wrong that they told me that I would do wrong. I got involved in a relationship with somebody from treatment and I got the job in a restaurant with the bar, and everything they told me not to do, I did anyway because I was different, right? And again, I drank pretty quick and my last run there was a 6-day run, and remember I told you I had God in my life, right? And I had this depression, this dark cloud that was gone. Well, those 6.5 days was a complete separation from God, and all that misery and pain and all that darkness came back flooding at once, right? And you know how they say, a head full of AA and a belly full of liquor doesn't mix,
Yes.
right? That wasn't my experience.
Wow,
That wasn't my experience.
That's not what I didn't think you were going to say that.
I did not think
I thought you were
about
going to say this was the moment I changed.
No, I didn't think about you guys one time the entire 7 days, not once. All I thought about
You're on camera. We're recording this. We're recording this.
He knew how to turn it off.
all I knew, all I thought about was my next fix, my next drink, and what I was going to do. And when they,
scary.
Listen, the only thing that stopped me was the Pembroke Pines Police Department. I was not going to stop myself. I wasn't coming to any rational sense. The only thing that could stop me were the police. And when they arrested me, I wear glasses. I didn't have my glasses. I didn't have a shirt. I had a pair of shorts with no underwear. I had no socks, no sneakers. I didn't even have my wallet on me. I didn't have a phone on me.
You're barefoot?
I was with a bottle of vodka underneath my seat, going to do some chaos. I don't even know what we were going to do. It was going to be bad though. And if they hadn't stopped me,
it was going to be bad.
I know that for 100%. Things were going to get really
how
bad.
could it be good? You don't have any underwear, and those what could possibly be good?
Nothing good.
You could have found another one like him out there.
At 2 o'clock in the morning with this woman that I had taken hostage, from treatment, and it was anyway. Here's the thing, right? When the cops slapped the cuffs on me and threw me in the back of the police cruiser, I cried my eyes out, and I thanked him from the bottom of my heart for stopping me, because it wasn't until that door closed that I realized what the meaning of the word powerless is. Because before I knew my life was unmanageable, it was obvious, but I did not believe I was powerless.
Even in a drunken state, you have this moment of clarity.
Absolutely, 100%.
Wow.
And I thanked him from the bottom of my heart, and I couldn't thank him enough. And I literally was crying my eyes out in the back of his cruiser. And later on in that Broward County jail cell, again knowing I'm going to prison because I just violated probation on these serious charges I had, and I was okay, but I did what I now know in a breath to be the first 3 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Which is what?
That I can't, he can, and I'll let him.
Wow. Can you say that again? Lord?
I can't, he can, and I'll let him.
I like that.
That's the first 3 steps.
Yeah, it's the first 3 steps in a nutshell,
Yep.
right? I know I'm an alcoholic, and that means I can't fix this on my own, right? I need help. I need help from a higher power that I believe can help me. And then what do you do next is I make the decision to let him help me, right? And
I really like that. It simplifies things.
Yeah.
Step 3.
From that time on, I've done everything. I haven't done everything right. I haven't done everything perfectly, but I've done one thing right. I haven't picked up a drink or a drug any day now since September 1st of 2012, right?
Wow.
My last drink was August 31st of 2012. And
That's fantastic.
I've done that perfectly. And also I've done everything in my power to make sure that I do something in this program every day to better my life. And, fast forward a little bit, yes, I did go to prison.
I was going to ask.
Yes,
I want to know.
I wasn't getting out of this jackpot. However, even that, I threw myself on the mercy of the court. I told the judge, listen here, to back up a little bit, I was in rehabilitation offender court, rock court, right, which is the big boy court, So I was classified as a rehabilitation felony offender, career criminal, right? And they don't hand out less than decades in this courtroom.
Oh my God.
Every single person I saw them sentenced was at least 10 to 20 years. I didn't see any sentences less than that, not one, right? When I got up in front of the judge.
So you're thinking I'm gone.
Yeah.
Well, no, I had faith in God.
Okay.
I really believed in God. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I knew it was going to be better
whatever
than
it
that.
was. The thing is, you were ready to accept
whatever it was.
That's
And when I
right.
threw myself on the mercy of the court, he sentenced me to 4 years, 49 months actually, and I'd already served 2 of those. A year and a half the first time, which I got credit for, and the 6 months by the time I got in front of court. So I had to go away for a little over 2 years, about 2 years or so. And I got sentenced to a program prison, which is South Bay Correctional Facility. They have programs there every day of the week. I had AA, I had NA every single day of the week. I found a sponsor in there. I started working this literally. See, here's the thing, right? I'm thick-headed. I'm hard-headed, right? I needed this separation from everything in the world for those 2 years in order to get right with God.
Quiet down the noise a little bit.
Yeah. And I was freer in prison than I'd ever been freer in the real world.
I've heard that from a lot of people that have been incarcerated.
It was such a blessing, And when I got out, I had a foundation. I had a relationship with God. I truly had a relationship, not just a knowledge of Him now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that faith that I had built, I call it faith equals trust, right? That's what I didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
The trust in God to help me through this, right? And but when I got out, I had burned every bridge there was to build, there was to burn. So I ended up in a homeless shelter, which was not, it was a blessing that I had a place to go with. It was Broward Outreach Center in Hollywood, and it's kind of like the Salvation Army, where it's a homeless shelter with a program, right? So they put me in a program in there for about 3 months, and I got to be, I got to be able to go to outside meetings and kind of pick myself up a little bit and brush myself off and get involved in some things. And then I found, I started going to a regular meeting every morning, and I found a home group. And this is why I say this, right? This home group I found was in downtown Fort Lauderdale called Serenity at 6:30. It was 6:30 a.m. every day.
Serenity, just the name
Serenity at 6:30. Yep.
Okay, I'm familiar with a name called Serenity by the Sea, so I guess not the
different.
same.
No, this is
Not
the
the
name.
same.
This is the name of the meeting. It was at St. Francis Mission, which is just south of the courthouse in downtown. It's not there anymore. They closed the mission down. They don't have the meeting there anymore.
Got it.
But first time I went in there, they literally opened their arms to me, and I got a tear in my eye right now. This I think is really the first time in my life I felt accepted somewhere, like that acceptance I was talking about.
Yeah.
Right. I really truly felt accepted, and then the second day I went back, they all remembered my name. Whew. I got God bumps. They all remember they met me one time and they all remembered who I was. That made me feel like
welcome. Like
that
you
made
were
me
at
feel
home.
like $1 million. It made me feel like I was somebody. I wasn't just a scumbag that I had thought my whole life.
Yeah.
And I got involved there, and I started going to meetings, and I met a good friend there, and he started taking me to other meetings, and I met another good friend, and she rented a room to me, so I had a place to go, and I found a job. Just things started snowballing, right? And I got involved in this program. I found another sponsor, went through the steps again, and really started learning how to have relationships, because that's they told me when I came in that I can have a life beyond my wildest dreams, right?
They do say that.
I didn't know what that meant. When I was thinking, money, cars, women, whatever,
Sure.
just the things we think of, what the world tells us
The
is
monetary
the best things,
rewards,
right?
yeah.
I didn't realize that I couldn't have dreamed what makes me happy today. The life beyond my wildest dreams is the relationships I have in my life today. The relationship with God, the relationship with people like Roland and all the other people in my life, the relationship with a wonderful wife that I have. And not just because she's a beautiful woman, because I have a wonderful relationship with her today, right? But this was a slow process. I had a fairly easy recovery early on, because I was in a homeless shelter, but to me, it seemed very easy. It seemed very simple, right? I started renting a room, had a job. I go to AA. It was very simple,
Right.
Save up a little money, do this, I met a girl, maybe a couple of years in, and that's when things got a little harrowing. They say if you want to get, if you want to learn about your character defects, get into a relationship, right? If you want to start working step 7, get married.
So
Yeah.
But listen, it taught me a lot. We had some struggles early on, but it taught me how to have a relationship, how to bring God into everything, right?
Yeah.
That's the key, right? That's when my relationship with my wife really started taking off, is when I started bringing God into that relationship. And it taught me to bring him in the middle of all my relationships. Because I was using him still, here and there. He was a big part of my life. He always was. But it's hard to bring God into everything you do without a conscious decision to do it, right? And without that conscious contact, which I connect with him by doing my prayer, my meditation, and my routines. That took me a little while, took me a little longer than some to get into those routines regularly.
10, 11, and 12.
About, but I did, and when I did, it took off. It tells us in the big book, prayer, meditation, and and self appraisal. When logically related and interwoven, create an unshakable foundation of life, right? Taken separately, they do great, but until I started working them all together, I was really missing out on a big part of this program, right?
Yeah.
Today, God's just taken off in my life. I went back to school. I got a master's in social work. I work in treatment as a facility operations manager at a great company that values me. I love the place I work. I love the people I work with. I do very well there. I went from a homeless shelter to buying a home a few years ago.
Wow.
And then not selling that, but buying another home. So I now own 2 homes. We rent the first one out. We have the second one, I have a beautiful wife who's in recovery.
I really love that.
I have a beautiful wife who's in recovery, and I have 2 beautiful puppies. I don't have kids. I don't want kids. God bless you all the people who
What are
have
your
them.
puppies' names?
Niklaus and Sorella. Sorella, we got second. That means sister in Italian.
Niklaus.
Yeah.
Sorella. Never ever heard either one of those.
They are
before.
beautiful names, though.
That's
So
great.
they're little.
Too bad you don't want kids. Those are beautiful names.
Well, they would
Well,
be.
they are. I do have kids. I have fur kids.
Yes, I hear
those
you.
are a little
I
different.
hear you.
Yeah, but the same. I understand.
perfectly happy.
There's love. There's love.
Listen,
You
there's
show love.
unconditional love there. When I come home,
You-
I sit on the couch and they jump on me and they lick all over me, and I say, This is what it's about right here. After I give the wife.
This is what really matters.
After I give the wife a
That's
kiss first,
beautiful.
because that's priorities, right?
That's
now.
beautiful, Justin.
But I have a beautiful life today. I really have a life beyond my wildest dreams because of the relationships that I've been able to develop because of this program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I took the time to do what I was told. I took the direction, not suggestion. I switched that word because suggestion means I have a choice. And my choice was either die or do what you tell me.
Right.
So I had to take some direction, right? And I took the direction that was given me, whether I agreed with it or not. Luckily, I was beaten down so much, and I was beaten into a state of reasonableness, and I was willing to do it all, and I didn't really care if it made sense to me or not, because obviously you had a better way that I didn't know about, because the way I kept doing things kept getting me in jackpots, right?
Yep.
And it kept getting me in a place that I felt like a miserable scumbag piece of crap, and I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And when I started doing the right thing, I have a friend who keeps it real simple. He says, do good, feel good. That's the essence of the 7-step right there. That's the essence of all the steps. Do good, feel good.
Well, so because that's what we did for so long, is we did wrong and we felt bad.
Yeah.
And so much so that we got used to feeling bad. So like we saw the people that were feeling good and we didn't want anything to do with them, or at least me.
Yeah.
I could see there were people out there that were doing the right thing and I wasn't. And I always felt bad about it. So when you say that simple thing, do good, and feel good, it totally makes sense, man.
That's if I was going to be involved with anybody that was doing good back then, it would make me feel worse, because I certainly wasn't doing it. I didn't want to have anything to do with you.
You told me one time something at work. You took something, a garbage bag or so. I don't even know what it was, but you felt so bad that you had to return it.
Yeah.
Because you knew that, and that's the kind of stuff, right? When nobody's looking. Right, because no one would have known.
No,
nobody would have known.
Nobody would have. But I knew,
something
and God
that
knew,
small.
Right?
That
See, for me, it's a slippery slope, right? The dishonest behavior was what it comes down to, right? Am I practice these principles in all my affairs? Because if I'm not, sure, I might get away with it in the material world, but I'm not getting away with it in the spiritual world. There's a spiritual price tag to pay for every negative action that I do, right? I'm not willing to accept that spiritual price tag today, because I know that the end of that road is me drinking and using again, and that to me that means death, and I don't want to go back there. So I have to keep doing the right thing. There was a time early on, and it wasn't early on in recovery, but it was fairly early on for me when I was out, and I had shared this with my sponsor, and I said, why? I think I was working at a restaurant, and I was wondering, why do I always have to do the right thing? I see these people doing this and getting away with this. I say, why do I always have to do the right thing? He's like, because you're an alcoholic, and if you don't do the right thing, you're going to use and you're going to die. And I said, all right, that's pretty simple.
It's so interesting that you bring that up. This topic, that topic of doing the right thing, has actually come up in my life directly the last 72 hours.
Really?
The topic itself of doing the right thing, and not because I'm in question of doing the right thing, but just as a result of doing the right thing. This concept of being Mr. Nice Guy, that good guys finish last, I've even heard someone say.
Yeah.
And here's what I believe that the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous has taught me, that the spiritual realm is all-inclusive, yes, and even if God is forgiving and, can forgive our sins and all of those things, that I believe it has a direct result of how it affects our life every day. And that the drink or the drug is only but, the symptom later, but what about in the interim? I'm going to be miserable if I don't turn around and admit that I've done something wrong. I don't feel good with myself, and therefore I don't continue to treat other people with the dignity that they have deserved. And I believe that life is tenfold on what we give back to it. So either if it's good, bad, or indifferent, the world rewards you accordingly.
Yeah, you never know where that's going to come from.
Yeah.
Just doing good for you doesn't mean I'm going to get back good from you, because I don't do good for you to get something back from you. But God, this world, this 4D is going to reward me beyond measure. Listen, I have so much beyond what I could imagine today, right? And God has sprinkled on top of me all the extra material stuff too. I have a beautiful car, beautiful home,
you don't spend money on drugs and alcohol. Seemingly, you start to have a little extra scratch in your pocket. Exactly, right? Just by accident. You don't go broke.
He keeps opening new doors for me as well. Yeah. I truly believe that people want to help somebody who's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
If that's not their ulterior motive.
Yeah, right.
Do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing, and God rewards you. My wife has this wonderful expression. She says, I take care of God's kids, he takes care of me. And it's as simple as that, So all I'm going to do is keep taking care of God's kids, and he's going to keep taking care of me. I don't have to worry about all that stuff, Just keep doing the right thing, and the right things will happen to me. That's all there is to it.
That's all right. Getting up and down.
It's all right. Good stuff, this guy. He's got so much good stuff, man. You really brought it home today, Roland.
Well, that's just another gift from the rooms and the program. Today, I usually play golf by myself. Like I'll make a tee time, then they'll pair me up. some guys I played with a couple weeks ago, they're like, hey, a bunch of us get together, blah, blah, blah. So I've been hooking up with these guys. One of them's a doctor for the Dolphins. The other, there's guys that are, there's lawyers and there's, you name it, there's actors and football players. It's just just a gift.
Yeah.
These gifts that keep coming. The program is full of gifts like
Amen.
the two of you, there's no way I would have met you. Well, I don't know how I would have met you guys without. So it's all up to him, and the gift is it's mine, and I'm very grateful to have both of you guys here. So listen, we're just about out of time. Is there anything that you'd like to that you haven't said already that you'd like to?
If you could leave the listeners with one thing from all the years of your experience on this planet, as well as your sobriety, which is super, super important, it is what has given us a life worth living today, what would you say?
If there was one thing that I can give the people out there that are even struggling or even have recovery, right? The one thing I've learned is stop fighting. Listen, just do what you're told, right? We have a better way of life. You don't have to figure it out. There's no reinventing the wheel here, right? It's all been laid out for you. All you have to do is do it. That's it.
That's awesome. Hey,
I like
bro,
that.
thank you, man. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for saying yes. And there's no question in my mind that people are going to listen and they're going to hear some things they didn't know before, and it's going to help them hopefully do what they need to do to feel the way that you're feeling. So God
Absolutely.
bless.
Well, thanks, Roland. I appreciate you
Awesome.
inviting me, and I love you, man. Really.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
It's great having you.
Absolutely. It's great having you. It's
you.
so good to meet you. It was an honor. Yeah.
That's good. It's a wrap. So now can we turn this off?
I like to keep it
Thank you for watching R&B Podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram for updates on our latest videos.